Welcome to Newsflash. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here. It's a Friday night. Apologize, we are a day late. I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to deal with it because we're here now. And Trump suggested today the government shutdown could last months or even years as Pence and cabinet members are due for a raise, even though 800,000 federal workers remain unpaid. The U.S.-led coalition set up to deal with ISIS no longer thinks anyone needs to know who or where we're bombing. That's very reassuring. We are going to go further inside the deranged fight the White House is going all out for this wall. Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, Kristen Gillibrand, and Matt Gaetz are all in today's show. That's a recipe for success there. All right. So we have, the only thing it could be described here is the first show of 2019 and a great show for you here today. We've got the House sworn in yesterday, the Fab Four, as I like to call them, and I'm sorry if I'm missing out anyone. There's also a lot of good progressive. We got shout out Deb Haaland, shout out of New Mexico, shout out from Kansas, Sharice Davis. But to me, the Fab Four, like the ones everyone's talking about is Rashida Tlaib, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, and Ilhan Omar. Yeah, but they are all, again, very extraordinary people just tearing things up. The diversity in the class is obviously just crazy. It's exceptional, and it's just very, very rare. We really have not seen anything like it in the history of this country, and it makes me really excited for what they're going to be able to do in this 116 Congress. Probably not that much with Republican Senate and Republican White House and Donald Trump. We're seeing the problems they're going to have to face right now. I am cautiously hopeful, but still untrusting. There's a little bit of a weird feeling I'm having with Nancy Pelosi leading the caucus. It's a little bit okay. I guess we're going to have to see where she goes. She has done some good things. She's made some progress in the past. She's passed what is really effectively a half measure in healthcare in the HCA. She secured the Lilly Ledbetter Act. That was also very nice, the thing that she did. But we always have our concerns with people like Nancy Pelosi, and especially, Nancy Pelosi is one thing. Chuck Schumer, oh my God, he's another thing. If I had to say, in terms of corporate Democratic scale, I'd say if Nancy Pelosi was like a 6 or 7, Chuck Schumer, I'd say, was probably like an 11. He's absolutely crazy. He is Facebook's mouth on Capitol Hill, according to the New York Times, and allowing them to pretty much do what they have to do. Because, Chuck Schumer, he may not be very potent as getting things done for the progressive cause. He may not really care about that, but boy, oh boy, does he care about making money. And that's something that we've very, very clearly seen. All right. Yes, that's what we know. And we're going to go a little bit more into actual story talk now. So that's what you need to know about the House. As President Trump threatened on Friday to keep the federal government partially closed for months or even years if he does not get money to build a wall along the southern border. But he also expressed optimism that he could reach an agreement with the congressional Democrats within days. Honestly, it's... I don't know about years or months. I hope not, because there's some people who need to get paid who actually need to be able to support their families. But here's the thing. I really don't see how anyone could pretty much come to a conclusion on this anytime soon. Because boy, oh boy, is it crazy. There's no sign of any sort of anticipation. There's no sign of anything letting up. I don't see the way, really, that it could get better, because it's no one's going to come to an impasse. I don't see anyone who has any kind of incentive to fold. You got Donald Trump, who is going all out, $5 billion, nothing more, nothing less on this wall. And you got, on the other hand, Nancy Pelosi, you got Democrats who would be slaughtered if they caved at all on this. So, there's not really that much room. There's not really that much room to make too much of a move here. There's no room for, compromise. There are some people who want to have some compromise, but then you don't know Trump's going to just veto it. And getting a veto-proof majority would be very, very tough for this kind of a bill. So The shutdown rolls on, and Trump and Democratic leaders emerge from a 2-hour meeting today without a deal to reopen government agencies that have been already shuttered for 14 days and offered sharply contrasting views of where they stood. Democrats called the meeting contentious, while the president and his Republican allies called it productive. Because, they're like, yeah, it was productive. We're really trying here, guys. People who keep calling me, begging for the shutdown to end, and all this uncertainty for their markets. It was really productive. I thought it went really well. It was we were close to getting things done. And then, they have a motive in seeming like that they are in a shutdown that most people believe they started. They have a motive in saying that they're trying to, and making progress in trying to figure out that they've gotten it done. So, that's their motive. But the Democrats also, they do have a motive to say we're going to oppose Trump and stick it to him at any point in time for the wall. Speaking of opposing Trump, there's going to be a lot more of that later in the show with Rashida Tlaib and Alexandria. So we'll get to all that. But yeah, that's a little sneak peek. Chuck Schumer said, "We told the president we needed the government open." He resisted. In fact, he said he'd keep the government closed for a very long period of time, months or even years. Appearing in the Rose Garden later, Trump confirmed that he said that, saying, quote, I did. I absolutely said that. I don't think it will, but I am prepared." And when he says that, he needs to, and he it would be nice if he realized the 800,000 federal workers who are most decidedly not prepared to go without pay for, quote, months or even years. So that is something that they should really keep in mind here, because that's not very good that he's trying to do that and saying that. He seems to be, this is language that no politician ever uses about a shutdown. And I'm not saying federal workers are like the new influential voting bloc, but they are not looking good at people who want to vote for Trump. They're not going to be looking very good for Trump. All right, so all right, a lot of interesting stuff going on today to talk about. A lot of stuff percolating about the shutdown thing here. He added, "I hope it doesn't go on for even a few more days. It could be opened really quickly." Trump had no hostile words for the opposition. Very rare there. I found that Democrats really want to do something. He designated Vice President Mike Pence, Kirstjen Nielsen, the Homeland Security Secretary, and Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law and senior advisor, to meet with congressional representatives this weekend. At the same time, in response to a question from a reporter, the president held out the possibility he could declare a national emergency, assume the unilateral power to build the wall without congressional approval. That is very interesting. I didn't know he could do that. It's actually, honestly, full disclosure here, that is my first time hearing that he could build the wall, declare a national emergency, and assume unilateral power. That would be dictatorial move, and that was I feel like that's something even him knows would seem like that would be a thing that pissed a lot of people off. But if it gets to a point, you never know how desperate the real Republican base is going to be for that wall, and people are going to push it. So at this point, I would not rule anything out, because I cannot see how this is going to end. He said about this national emergency declaration, quote, "I may do it." He was flanked by Pence, Nielsen, and congressional Republican leaders. We may call a national emergency and build it very quickly. There's another way to do it, and we can do it if we can do it through a negotiated process, that's better. He did seem, somewhat calm, but still, it was still crazy, even because it's a Trump press conference, so we know. And interesting here, a little graph that's worth pointing out. The border crossings have sharply dropped from Bush to Obama, and even dropped, but not as much from from Obama to Trump. So that it's definitely been going down, and we are seeing that in terms of border apprehensions by month. So far, Trump has had 28,869 per month versus Obama's 34,647 per month average, and then Bush had 81,588. That's according to a graph put together by U.S. Customs and Border Patrol and the New York Times. So, that's some very interesting stuff, and I mean, you really wonder why it's gone down and why the border crossings, the apprehensions at the border have gone down. I mean, they are somewhat going up in 2018, and I wonder like what that is. I mean, I think it could be a lot of different things, and I think it requires a lot of research and study before people try and take advantage of it. Because again, if you look at what's happened, like things have gotten over, like their deterrence, the deterrence of the Trump administration have just, like, it's not deterring anyone, frankly. Like the idea of it is just not deterring anyone. The idea of family separations, stuff like that, like now they're at their highest point. Yeah. So at the same time, in response to a question from a reporter, again, the president held that out. Trump said there was discussion during the meeting of an idea floated by conservative commentators to end the impasse, marrying wall funding and protecting from deportation young immigrants who were previously covered by DACA, which Trump has moved to rescind. As he left for the White House, Representative Kevin McCarthy, Republican leader, said it open to the idea. I'm sure he did, because it's probably the best thing that they're going to get for a real compromise that goes their way. Like a compromise that leans Republican would be that. That would be awful. I mean, I think there's no way he should get $5 billion in one wall funding. I think any deal that has $5 billion in one wall funding in it, or anything above 3, or anything above, you don't want to say anything 2.5. The max, I think I would be fine with Democrats giving to him for the wall would be realistically 2.5. If they give him any more than that, it's ridiculous. Is what it is. It's a joke because A, this wall is not popular. B, he told Americans time and time again, Mexico's going to pay for it. Mexico's going to pay for it. Blah, 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 blah. But here's the thing: they're not. Lindsey Graham is now saying we need the Americans to pay for it, and literally, I quote last night on Fox News, Lindsey Graham had the audacity to come out there and say of Donald Trump's presidency on Fox News. He said, if Trump gave in to the Democrats in this government shutdown standoff, it would be the end of his presidency. And also, the little thing we called the Republican Party. And that was a pretty incredible remark. On Friday, the president sent a letter to Congress that was an unsubtle rebuff of Democratic leaders with whom he had previously met on Wednesday. According to a person in that earlier meeting, Miss Pelosi cut off Nielsen as she reeled off statistics about the border. In his letter, Trump said that some of the president did not want to hear the presentation at the time, so have decided to make the presentation available to all members of Congress. Yeah, that's obviously, we need the criminals at the border are coming. They're raping the children. That's pretty much that's the presentation. I think it's very safe to say that Christian Nielsen was providing. And so now we know. And now we know all Congresses are going to get it. So that's great. So Matt Gaetz is like, this is exciting. Good reading. Yeah, so the shutdown is now entering its third week on Saturday, has left 800,000 workers without pay, limited the functions of federal agencies, and slowed the court system. There's also concerns that if the shutdown continues for several more weeks, it'll harm the overall economy. This is where the phone calls come in that I've been talking about. Most Republicans in Congress, including those leaders who will be in the meeting with the president, have backed the president, though there were signs of fraying alliances as two vulnerable senators from Democratic-leaning states, Cory Gardner of Colorado and Susan Collins of Maine, expressed misgivings about their leaders' intransigence. Gardner called on his party to end the shutdown, even if it meant not funding the wall, and Collins said she would support measures to fund the government if in already approved appropriation bills. So yeah, they I think apparently what people are saying is the Republicans think the wall is stupid. They don't want the wall. They don't really care about the wall. It's really for dumb. It's supposed to. What they always thought it was going to be was a matter. I heard this from David Lang, and he's a Republican. He's a Fox News watching Republican, if you didn't know, who is a contributor to our show. He comes on sometimes. He's a very interesting guest, actually. And he's always like, yeah, I thought it would be a metaphor supporter for border security, something he supports, and that would be what they want. He didn't think he's what he said to me, like literally paraphrasing here, but this is the idea. He's like, come into a negotiation, ask for something way more, and